Hey Pete.
How are you, mate? Going
Mate,
well?
coffee.
Beautiful.
Did not expect to see you in Ealing this weekend, but good to catch up and going to come and help us with the commentary.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Sounds good, Stevie.
We're going to have a quick chat upstairs. Anyway.
In we go.
Sitting for ages. But yeah, it's not too strong a coffee.
English.
Late in the day.
English special.
Yeah, well, I imagine you're getting a bit, posh with your coffee these days.
Surprised it's not a tea.
Pete, it's bittersweet that you're here. Nice to catch up. Not seen you for ages. We've got a few sort of slightly random questions, I guess, to get into. You've had a lot of questions that perhaps have been, negative's the right word, but it's obviously not been the best start to the season for you. So I'm thinking, you've been in SailGP quite a while now. You've had some pretty good moments. Can you think of one highlight, your favourite moment, or what you think was your best race or your best moment?
Yeah, I think if you, I think winning in front of home fans in Christchurch for that second year there was pretty special. The Christchurch events were obviously absolutely amazing. Really nice breeze, pretty steady track. Pushing the boat super hard, and obviously massive amount of home fans there. So it was super special to get that win.
Yeah, and were you still New Zealand then, or were you the Blackfalls? Like, I'm intrigued. Was Blackfalls like an easy call? Were there other names on the table? It's always like All Blacks, Black Ferns. How did you get to that name?
Yeah, well, there were a lot of names on the table. It was a little while ago now, so I can't actually remember all of them. One was the Foil Blacks.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so we ended up.
So you really switched that up. Yeah.
Just to keep that. I think that was the first event we were the Black Foils.
Right. Okay.
I think that was the launch event.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, prior to that point, everyone had just been New Zealand SailGP team, Spain SailGP team, and the teams didn't really feel like they had much personality. So we were actually one of the teams really pushing for that ability to change your team name and create something that identified you or differentiated you a little bit more. So yeah, it's been a great transition for our team for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's stuck, doesn't it, as a name, and it's kind of got that resonance. Lost Guide sort of springs to mind for me, North Star. So it's pretty cool that it's taken off like that. I mean, when you came in, I suppose any time you get in any boat, there's an awful lot of expectation, pressure, I guess in a way. What do you think? Was there a lot you had to learn? Because you didn't come in just and way off the bat, did you? It seemed to take a minute to get used to maybe the fleet, or what was the hardest thing to get used to transitioning into the league and things like that?
I mean, our first season was super tough. I suppose when we committed to doing that season, none of us knew the Olympics was going to end up right in the middle of it. So that kind of made life a lot harder from the performance side. We kind of, with I think 6 of our 8 people or something, were competing in the Olympic Games at that point as well. With me, Blair, Andy, Josh, Erica, and Joe maybe as a coach. But yeah, so that made that first bit quite interesting, and also that time COVID, New Zealand quarantine, it feels like a while ago now, but it was so hard to get in and out of New Zealand, and I think one of the mistakes we made was probably not getting someone that had been deeply involved in the SailGP in that first season. So we definitely made a lot of kind of little mistakes, or took a bit longer than we should to kind of clue on to certain aspects of the league in that first season, and just really struggled to kind of get comfortable enough in the boat to really be able to throw it around and compete at the right end. I think we ended up 5th or something in that season, in the mid-fleet.
Yeah, it was hard. It's interesting to know what what I suppose you had to learn, and what are the differences and challenges you face.
So then I think the next season we ended up being able to take all the learnings there and actually input a good plan. Knowing what SailGP was, I suppose, and what the priorities were, what you should be focusing on. We really made sure as a team we really stepped up the manoeuvres side, got super comfortable in the boat, but also set up everything else. We had just a lot better processes, and then went on to make our first final, win our first event. Actually, here in the UK, we won our first event.
Plymouth, wasn't it?
Yeah. Nice, shifty, tricky race course.
Yeah.
And then we've been competing at the front right at the top end ever since.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you sort of wanted to sit championship season standings. You got to a few finals. That 3-boat format, do you believe it is controllable? Like, so I suppose, you know, I think you've come third in the final, in the grand finals I'm talking about here, which, knowing you, possibly if you're not actually going to win the race, maybe the last bit you're a bit, I don't know, but if ultimately if you're not first, it doesn't matter, does it, in that final? However, I suppose 2 questions is like, do you feel like there's anything obvious you could have done different in Abu Dhabi? Because I think, well, other than that you got a bit done over by me, because I called you as I thought you'd won it once you made that perfect call at gate 2. You got the cross in, didn't you? And you were off on the beak. Do you think you'd have done anything different in hindsight?
Yeah, I mean, for sure in hindsight, you know, we didn't think it was such a big persistent left shift. And,
Yeah.
You know, we would have for sure foiled and taken the right turn off the British. You know, we kind of had the option at the top there and thought the left had been paying pretty well all day, and the breeze was going to go back to kind of its normal direction, and that was actually setting us up on what we thought was a good way for the geometry on the beat. So sorry, the geometry for the next beat.
Downwind sort of thing,
Yeah, well, kind of was minimising the manoeuvres from there. So yeah, I mean
hindsight is easy.
Hindsight's super easy, right? You look back at it. You know, I think that week as well, I always find the finals weeks quite hard because, you know, for the last 2 we've, you know, been in the final, kind of going into that last event. So you know, you're really finding a weird balance of the first 5 races, and then you're trying to actually put your best foot forward for the last one. So it's something I think we've got to just keep figuring out how to be better. Yeah.
Do you think you can? I feel like in Rio 2016, you know, I'm sure you don't feel as it appears from the outside inevitable you were going to win that gold medal. And for a little while you were turning up and you were winning world championships. Like, it was just what you do, isn't it? You know, so there's inevitability, but you had races to iron it out. Do you think there is a situation where you can get to where you know you can win that 3-boat, or is there always going to be a slight dice roll in it?
I think there's always going to be a slight dice roll in it, to be honest. Yeah, I think on points, I think the best boat across the season in totality normally wins.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think the British had a good season last season where we had a few events we were right at the back, you know, a few gear issues early on in the season that really cost us a heap of points. You know, the season before, I think we were the dominant team across the season, you know, and then the ones before that, I think the Australians. But, I mean, you look at, say, the Spanish winning their first season final, you know, they've halfway through that event, I thought the French were going to make it into the final. You know, the French were sailing really well. You know, us and the Aussies were going just fine as well. And then, you know, the French had their big crash, gave the Spanish the opportunity, and they had a blinding start, and away they went, you know. So it's, something that I think the form going into it, honestly, has very little to play. Obviously, you want to go in sailing well and sailing the boat fast, but it really is just whoever shows up on that race gets off the start line well. If you lead at Mark 1, you obviously give yourself a lot better chance of winning it. And then, if you're behind at Mark 1, you've got to try and make something happen. And I think, like you said before, I think for all the teams, it's all about winning that final. I don't think anyone cares between second and third, to be frank. You know, and if you're coming second, definitely for us, you'd prefer to take more risk and give yourself a shot at winning it rather than care too much about hanging on to your second position. So it's I mean, we've obviously done 3 now and come very close a couple of times, and the second one obviously weren't very close. But it's something that you just have to give yourself the shot and have to try and put your best foot forward when you get there.
No, I mean, it's tricky, isn't it? Is there anyone and I suppose it's very easy and obvious for me to say you and the Australians is the big rivalry. Is there anyone you really don't like the idea of meeting in a final?
To be honest, I really enjoy the finals.
Right,
you know, I find it a lot easier to be consistent, get off the start line well, kind of execute a plan when there's that less boats. So I think statistically we've gone reasonably well in the finals as well. But yeah, I think the key is just giving yourself that opportunity to win the final by getting there in the first place, which is you know, proves hard at times, and then you know, try and have as much practice as you can throughout the season. But yeah, for the grand final, you know, it's just about showing up and putting your best foot forward and trying to make it stick.
Trying to execute it. And then not hearing too much from Craig Mitchell, hopefully. So one question I've got for you is, who do you reckon in the fleet has got the biggest beef with Craig?
I reckon Tom.
Yeah.
Tom would have the biggest beef with Craig.
I mean, it's so interesting, isn't it, when you sort of see you look on comments on YouTube, Instagram, or whatever, and you know, it's obviously like, you sort of love the fan interaction on there and the passion. But yeah, it does seem to sit that some of the higher profile moments of where perhaps feeling hard done by, and I don't know if that's good because Tom's so good at getting fairly irate about it, or if it is a genuine bit of real beef.
Yeah, I mean, Phil would be up there as well, having some good arguments.
Do you hear that on the water?
Depends which channel they've gone through. Sometimes you hear it. You know, if you're kind of going over race management, I think it's starting to go to everyone. We're technically not supposed to go over race management. It's not that great when you got, you know, someone blaring in everyone's ears when you're trying to get your boat around the racetrack. But yeah, it's quite funny on the other hand as well. You're not hearing that.
It's definitely quite funny. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd like to be Craig some of the time.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, we've had a tough start to the year with Craig.
Yes.
Tough end to last year and start to this year with Craig, to be honest, as well.
Okay. Well, now you're in Ealing, maybe a chance for you guys to kiss and make up. I don't know. But as you're in Ealing and you're over here, which is cool, I don't know, you probably bored of having to listen to me being able to do all this racing in hindsight and say, oh, that was a mistake or not, and not actually do it myself, which I'm very aware of. But what do you find hard or enjoy in the commentary booth? You know?
Well, I enjoyed it a lot more yesterday once you had a bit more data. You could kind of actually see what was going on the course. I always find it super hard when you're just looking at a camera shot of a couple of boats to really get a perspective of what's going on the racetrack, what's likely to pan out. You know, for example, whether you think the top end of the line's going to win or the bottom, or whether people are early or late, or, you know, that perspective from the TV angle always seems to change quite a bit, you know, based off, I'm not sure whether it's a zooming thing or whatever. So yeah, for me, looking at it in a way I'd normally view it in 2D is find it a lot easier to tell how people are positioned, what you think's likely to play out. But yeah, I think it's just great to be able to see the sport, get excited about, you know, people racing boats, and some pretty cool venues as well. You know, I've got some pretty fond memories of Rio, so to see people back racing there in a pretty similar spot is pretty cool. Yeah,
well, mate, it's a terrible shame you're not there. Look forward to being back. Thanks for taking the time, and we should go down. I reckon I'm going to win 2 races today, and maybe you'll get on.